So, so I am going to talk about stresses. So I already told you that stress is a tensor of order 2. Scalar is a tensor of order 1. Sorry, order 0. Vector is a tensor of order 1. Scalar, like temperature is a scalar quantity. Vector, for example, force is a vector quantity. Similarly, area normal, it is also a vector. So it's a tensor of order 1. You have got a surface. For example, I draw a body. So you have a coordinate system. Whenever you have a vector or a tensor, you need a coordinate system. So this area, you see this outward normal to this surface. You have a body, so you can always talk of outward normal to a surface or inward normal. So we always talk of an outward normal. So this outward normal is pointing in positive x direction. So what is the direction cosine of this normal vector? This normal vector has got this direction cosines. Similarly, you have got this normal vector. The direction cosines are 0, 1, 0. This normal vector has direction cosines minus 1, 0, 0. This bottom surface has a normal vector 0, minus 1, 0. Similarly, you have got front and back face. So back face has a normal vector 0, 0, 1. Front face has an outward normal vector 0, 0, minus 1. Any problem with this?
No, sir.
So we have a normal vector. So this is called a positive normal vector. You see, its component is towards positive x direction. This normal vector is pointing towards positive x direction. This normal vector is pointing towards negative x direction. So this is a negative area we call. This is a positive area normal. This is a negative area normal. So we have a sign convention. So we can call this as a positive phase. This as a negative phase. This is a positive phase. This is a negative phase. So it helps us. It simplifies our representation later on. Similarly, we have got force. The force is a vector. You see, there is a force on this face. Now, this force is neither nor it has a component normal to the surface, has a component tangential to the surface. So this is my force as a vector. It has got components. It will have components fx, fy, fz. Three components. Now you see, you can talk. I have shown one component in x direction, another component in y direction, and there can be a third component in z direction. You see, any vector can be is represented by its components. So you can choose three orthogonal components, and we choose the three orthogonal components along the xyz axis. So I have chosen three components along xyz axis. I have shown positive directions. If some component is negative, it means actual component is in opposite direction. Suppose this y component was negative, then it would have gone like this. Then this value of fy would have been negative. Any problem?
No, sir.
So now suppose this is a uniformly distributed force on this face. I have represented the net force by F. Assume there is a uniformly distributed force. And you have found an equivalent force. Okay. So equivalent force vector is this. It has got its three components. Any issue with this?
Clear, sir.
Now we want to find force upon area. Now we know the area of this face. So let's call it a block of two. It's at the top you have a vector and area is a scalar quantity. So this is a vector. Any problem with this? So we have defined a vector. We call it traction vector. So traction vector is nothing but force upon area. So what is the sign convention of this traction vector? It will have the same sign convention as that of force.
Yes, sir.
If this component fx is positive, this component fx upon area will be positive. Similarly, fy upon area, fz upon area. So traction vector is a very simple concept. If you have a force here on this face, I am showing a force like this. It has got components in x, y, and z directions. So you see, I can show like this. So this component becomes negative because positive direction is this. So you have got components fx, fy, fz. So what is the traction? Fx upon this area, fy upon this area, fz upon this area. Now x component is negative. So traction vector has negative tx value. So you can say traction vector is tx, ty, tz. So it has the sign convention of force. So traction is force upon area. It follows static sign convention. Positive traction, negative traction, just positive force, negative force. Now, what is stress? The stress is nothing but something like a tensor, traction vector, but it is slightly defined differently. Now, stress has a different sign convention. What is the difference? I am showing again you the same cube. Now I am showing you normal vector. Now there is a force on it. Suppose there is a force like this. Uniformly distributed force in x direction. Now what is my traction? Suppose this force is okay. Net force becomes this is my net force. And the area is assume 2 by 2. So your traction vector becomes So this is 2 meter, 2 meter, 2 meter. Now I can define a stress. I call it sigma xx. So what is this x? Second x is corresponding to the normal component, normal vector direction. First component is component of force in x direction. You see, normal vector to this face is in x direction. So we use x, saying that normal vector direction is x direction. Now if I say sigma yx, that value is 0 because force component in y direction is 0. Force component in z direction is 0. So we will say sigma zx equal to 0. Any problem, Lavish?
Clear, sir.
Clear? Okay, now what I do, I take the opposite face. I have taken this face. Now what I do, I also apply a force on it. Now the force is same way 1 kilonewton comma 0 0. So what is my traction vector? But what will be my sigma xx? Now my sigma xx becomes minus 1 by 4. Because the normal vector to this face is minus 1 0 0. So sign convention of stress depends on both direction of force component and area normal component. You see, area normal is in negative x direction. Force is in positive x direction. So you have to multiply the two. Now you see, this is traction is positive, but area normal minus 1 0 0. So you multiply plus sign with a minus sign. So you get a minus sign. So your stress becomes negative. And what is your sigma yx? In this case, it is 0. So that won't show up. Negative sign will not show up. Any problem with this?
No, sir.
Now I'll do it again. I'll take more than one component. So I take a component like this. I take a component like this. So I say this is net forces. F is equal to so this is my force. My area is 2 meter. My cube size is 2 meter. So what is my traction vector? But what will my sigma xx? 2 by 4. You see, area normal is 100. So I will take whatever the sign of traction is. So this is positive. So if this is positive, again I get positive. If this is negative, I again get negative. So sign of stress and traction vector remain same. My first index represents the area normal direction. This index on the right side. Index on the left side represents force component. Whatever is the force component. Now if I take this second face, left face, I assume the similar force. So there is a force in So this force is basically now your area normal is negative. Traction is same as before. But what is your sigma xx? Since the area normal is negative, you have to multiply this traction with a minus sign to get sigma xx. Any problem with this? So I'm trying to teach you stress nomenclature and stress sign convention. Now I'll take another case. So applying a tensile force. Now this block is in tension. How can it be in tension? I apply a force here. I apply a force here. You see this block is in equilibrium. This is a uniformly distributed force. So net force is passing through centroid of the face. So these two forces become collinear. So you have a block of say 2 meter by 2 meter size. Now what is the sigma xx here? 1000 by 4. What is sigma xx here? So what is traction first? Traction here is minus 1000 by 4, comma 0, comma 0. What is the normal vector here? So minus 1, minus of this will multiply with minus of this. So you will get 1000 by 4. You see, you get a positive stress. If the force component is negative, area normal is negative, two negatives make a positive. Is it all right, Lavish? Kunal Sani,
Yes, sir.
is it okay?
Yes, sir.
You got the sign convention of stresses.
Yes, sir.
What does sign of stress depend on?
Sir, area normal vector
And the force
and
component
and
also.
the and direction of force. Yes, sir.
So you see, tensile stress is known to be positive, and
Yes,
here
sir.
you are getting tensile stress as positive. If it is acting on this face or it is on this face, it is turning out to be positive. Suppose you are having a compressive stress. It is like this, like this. So what is the sign of compressive stress? Can you make out? Kunal Sani.
Yeah, left one should be sir negative.
It should be negative. You see, force component is negative,
Yeah.
area normal is positive. So one thing is positive, another is negative. So sigma xx becomes negative. Here you see what is happening. Force is positive, area normal is negative.
Negative.
So stress becomes negative. Can you see? So
Yes, sir.
compressive stresses are negative, tensile stresses are positive. Similarly, suppose you want to show a negative shear stress, then this becomes, you see, surface, any force tangential to the surface causes a shear stress. Any force perpendicular to the surface causes a normal stress. So you have got a normal stress, shear stress. So force is like this, it has a component normal to the face, it has a component tangential to the face. Tangential component causes shear stress, normal component causes normal stress. Now you see this component, it is in negative y direction, while area normal is positive. So this shear stress will also be negative. So this is called tau yx, or you can even call it sigma yx. Is negative because area normal is positive. Force component is negative. Now, if you are here, you see force component is positive, but area normal is negative. So this will be also a negative tau yx. You understand this? Kunal Seni, do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we can show forces here. First, we show a coordinate system. What will I call this stress? Kunal Seni. What is the nomenclature for this stress?
Sir, sigma xx.
Very good. What is this stress? You see, normal vector the face is in x direction. The first component will be rightmost component will be x only. What is the component? What is the force component? This.
Sir, the first index should be the force component and the second one would be the area vector. Yes, sir. Sigma yx.
So this is sigma yx.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What will be this force? This stress.
Sigma zx.
Very
ZX.
good. Now, what is this stress?
Sigma xy.
Very good. This one.
Sigma
Sigma
yy.
YY.
This one.
Sigma zy.
Now, suppose I take the front face. What is this stress?
Sigma xz.
What is this stress?
Sigma zz.
So you see, you have seen all kinds of stresses: sigma xx, sigma yx, sigma zx. Now I can write it in a matrix form. So whatever is having rightmost index as x, I put it in the first column. You see, column index is always same. So here column index is x, and your this index, first index is a row index. What will be the second vector, second row column? What do you
Sigma
think?
YY.
Sigma xy. Is it all right? Sigma yy. First column has index x as at the rightmost index. Second column has y as the rightmost index. And what will be this column?
Sigma XZ.
So this is the way you define your stress tensor. Since it is a tensor of second order, I put a double bar below it. If it is a vector, I put a single bar below it. This is the standard nomenclature. Tensor of order 1, 1 bar. Tensor of order 2, 2 bars. These are the components of this stress tensor. How many components you can see? Can you count them? 9 components. A stress tensor has 9 components. A vector has how many components?
3 components.
3.
So if you know 3 components of a vector, where the vector is fully defined. If you know 9 components of this stress tensor, it is fully defined.
Sir,
Yeah.
Sir, here, sir, sigma, apart from sigma xx, sigma yy, sigma yz, the left stresses are the shear stresses, right, sir?
Yeah.
So here you should write tau.
No, it doesn't matter. You see, if you're just writing alone, then this is normal stress. This is known as, this is standard nomenclature or shear stress. But once you're writing the indices, you see, you're writing the indices. Once the two indices are same, it is a normal stress. Once the two indices are different, it is a shear stress. You see, normal vector is in x direction, force component in y and z. So it is along this plane, yz plane. So this is a yz plane which has a normal vector in x direction. So you know it is a shear stress. All these are shear stresses. Sigma and tau are just to show that what is a normal stress, what is a shear stress. So all these are normal stresses.
सर
These are your normal stresses. Yes.
सर पहला इंडेक्स प्लेन का नहीं होता
Yes, come again.
सर पहला इंडेक्स प्लेन का होता है ना और सेकंड होता है डायरेक्शन का
The way I use this index is for the normal vector or plane. This is for the force component. This is what I will use throughout, and there is some logic behind it that you will come to know. Some books may be doing it the other way around, but the best books will do the way I am doing. Okay,
ओके सर
so that will make your life easy. You will come to see how. Okay. So what does this first column represent? What does this first column represent? Harshit Tiwari.
Sir, the direction of the stresses in x.
What does it represent? Come again. Harshit Tiwari. What does first column represent? Vaibhav Roy. What does first column of stress tensor represent? Lavish. Kevalish.
Sir, first column represents the normal area vector, I think.
So first column represents the stresses on the plane having normal vector in x direction.
Yes, sir.
Is it all right? So every plane you can define three stresses. Every plane. Plane is there. Three stresses will correspond to the three components of force. I can call my stress as sigma xn, sigma yn, sigma zn, whereas n is the normal vector to the plane. Now normal vector to the plane is in x direction, it becomes sigma xx. Then my stresses on plane having normal vector in x direction is sigma xx, sigma yx, sigma zx. Stresses on the plane having normal vector in y direction, that is my xz plane, will be sigma xy, sigma yy, sigma zy. Stresses on the plane having normal vector in z direction, my xy plane, will be sigma xz, sigma yz, sigma zz. All right. So actually, why do we need it? Now what happens is, you take a body, have you all tried to break a chalk? You take a chalk, you apply a load like this. What you are doing to the chalk? You are bending it. Try to bend the chalk. So how will it fail? You just test it out someday. It will break like this. It will split into two pieces. Like this. Suppose you will try to twist the chalk. You are twisting it. Then it will fail differently. You will find it is failing like this. It will fail along a helix. Why does it happen? Here it is failing because of shear stress. Sorry, normal stress. Your maximum normal stress is along this plane. You are bending it and you will find there is a tensile stress across this plane. And when you are twisting it, you will find that tensile stress is along perpendicular to this plane. So it is not failing vertically. It's not a cross section which is splitting apart. What is splitting apart is a different surface. So you have got different stresses. There are some forces. I had told you, like, if you draw a free body diagram of this bar, it is the internal forces which keep it together. If there are no internal forces between the particles, they won't try to hold to each other, and immediately they will go apart. There are molecular forces between the particles which makes them stay together. And if you want to bring them apart, you have to apply force. And the force required is large. So, but there are planes which are weaker. Suppose there is a plane which is weak in tension. There can be a plane which is weak in compression. There are planes which are weak in shear. So there are different kind of forces. And failures occur in different ways in different materials. For example, you take a piece of you take a brittle material. You will find it is very strong in compression. But it is weaker in tension. You take a material like steel, it may be equally good in compression as well as tension. So some materials are stronger in shear, some are weaker in shear. So what happens is, at different planes, you may have different kind of stresses. You see here, on this plane, you have got a shear stress. There is a shear stress on this plane. But on these planes, there is some tensile stress. There is a compressive stress on this plane. Usually you will learn why you are getting tensile and compressive stresses. Now if some material is weak in tension, so what happens is, it will fail along this direction. There will be failure along this plane. So you have a tensile stress on this plane. So these two parts will split apart in tension because it is weak in tension. Chalk is weak in tension, but it is strong in compression related to tension. So you will not have failure along the other plane. You have failure along this plane only. So what happens is, when you have forces in a body, you draw a free body diagram, for example, of this part. So this is external force. This is external force. So, but forces across this plane, what these two bodies, these two parts are acting on each other, they are internal forces. So these are internal forces. Similarly, if you draw free body diagram of the right part, so this is an external force. This is an external force. But there will be internal forces on this face. So right half is causing this internal force on the left half. Left half is causing these internal forces on the right half. And you see these set of forces. They are equal and opposite. Newton's third law. So what this fellow will do to him, the other fellow will do opposite. Equal and opposite. So this is you call like a stress on this face. Stress on this face. So these internal forces are giving a stress on this onto this plane. So you call it, this direction is x, y. So this becomes sigma xx. Similarly, you have got a sigma xx here. You see this force is in positive x direction. This force is in negative x direction. But area normal is positive, area normal is negative. So both the stresses are positive. This is also positive. This is also positive. Because though force is negative, opposite to this, area normal is also opposite. So it doesn't matter whether you take free body diagram of the left half or right half. Your stresses will be same. They will have the same sign. Is it all right, Kevalish?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if you had taken a plane like this, now you see the story will be different. External force is this. Now, there are internal forces on this face. What will be the direction of these internal forces, Kevalish? What will be the net force on this face?
So net force will be on the entire body, it will be zero, but on this face it will be opposite to external force.
So this will be your net force.
Yes, sir.
So now you see this is the net force. So what kind of stresses will be there on this face?
Tensile stress.
Okay. So what can you tell about the stresses here? Okay, you can say this is sigma x normal. Suppose this is a normal vector. What will be sigma xn? This is external force, suppose F naught. This area is A. This angle is theta. So this becomes like A. So what will be this area?
A sec theta, sir.
A by sine theta. Okay. So what will be your sigma xn? F naught upon so this is the stress on this face. Can you see this? So you see this stress is lower in value because the same amount of force is distributed over a larger area. Okay. Now, this is a normal vector to the face. You could have also this force, you could have taken components, one component normal to the face, another tangential to the face. Instead of doing it sigma xn, you could have called it sigma normal, sigma tangential. So here what you are doing, force component in normal direction upon area of the face, force component in tangential direction upon area of the face. So generally you are interested in normal and shear stresses. Body behaves differently in normal and the loads are normal to the surface or loads are tangential to the surface. So the failure depends on normal stress and shear stress. So you have taken this phase. So how will you find normal force? Normal component of the force? This force is F naught. This angle is theta, so this is also theta. So tangential component becomes F naught cos theta. Normal component becomes F naught sin theta. So what is your sigma normal? F naught sin theta. What is your area? Let's call it A naught. Let it be okay. Let it be A naught. What is your sigma tangential? Is it all right? Any issues with it, Kunal Sani?
No, sir.
So you see, you found stresses on this phase. There is a tangential term also. While when we took this phase, there was only a normal stress. There was no stress tangential to the surface, as there was no force tangential to the surface. And you see, if this theta becomes 0, if this, suppose this theta becomes 90 degree, what happens? This line becomes vertical line. You are basically, this is theta is equal to 90 degree plane. So theta is equal to 90 degree. So you get F naught by A naught. And what happens to your shear stress? Cos 90 is 0. So your shear stress is 0. Is it all right? So from this plane, you can go to this plane just by changing theta. You can make theta is equal to 0. Then what will happen? You will have a plane like this. This was your theta is equal to, this was your theta. This was theta becoming 90 degrees. So this theta is becoming 0 degree. Once theta is equal to 0 degree on this surface, what I am predicting, sigma normal is 0, sigma tangential is 0. So there is no stress on this surface. Can you see this? How it can happen? You have got this point. This is the external force. Now this is your plane. You have taken a section of the body like this. You want upper half of the body. What lower half is doing to the upper half? That is what you are interested in. Now, it is a uniformly distributed force on these ends. So if I am drawing free body diagram of the upper half. So this is uniformly distributed force. So if this force was F naught, here you will get F naught by 2. Is this upper half is in equilibrium? That is my question. Kevalish.
Yes, sir, it's in equilibrium.
So does lower half has anything to do to make it not fly away?
No, sir, not in this case.
So no force is there exerted by the lower half on the upper half. So force on this face is all components are 0. So that is why you get all stresses as 0. So what are the stresses on this face? You see my x. What stresses you defined on this face? Sigma xy, sigma yy, sigma zy. So these are the stresses because this normal vector is in y direction. All these fellows are positive 0 because force is 0. stress is nothing but force upon area. If you had taken plane passing through the like this, now there are stresses. What stresses are defined on this plane? Sigma xx, sigma yx, sigma zx. So this was f naught. So you get f naught by a naught. Now there is no y component, so this becomes 0. I am drawing a 3D object. I have my coordinate system. Always draw a coordinate system. So there are forces, uniformly distributed forces on these faces. Now what I do, I take a plane like this. So now I want to see the effect of front half on back half or back half on front half. So I have to draw a free body diagram of the front portion. So this is the front half. So what are the forces here? So some of this force was F naught. So you get F naught by 2. So does the back half has to do anything to the front half in order to not make it fly off? It is already in equilibrium. So there are no forces acting on this face. No internal forces on this face. Okay. So what is the stress on this face? Normal is in z direction. So sigma xz, all three are 0. So what we did in this case was, we took a case of a uniaxial load. This is called a uniaxial load. So I apply forces here. And I took 3 planes, different planes. I took a plane like this. I say I want to find stress on this point. So on this point, I pass this plane. And I got this first vector. First column of the matrix. And what was this value? F naught by A naught. They were 0. Next time I did what? I took a plane in with normal vector in y direction. So this plane has a normal vector in y direction. So what are the stresses involved? Sigma yx, sorry, sigma xy. And I found that they are all 0. Now third time what I do? Through this, I take a plane. So this plane has a normal vector in z direction. So normal vector in z direction. Again, I showed you there are 0 stresses on this. So this was your sigma xz, sigma sigma yz, sigma z. So this is a stress tensor for a uniaxial load situation. So you see this is simply F naught by A naught. All the other terms are 0. Any problem with this? I apply a load. I told you Newton's laws are pervasive. What is the meaning of Newton's laws are pervasive? Like all pervading. Pervasive means all pervading. All pervading means if this body is in equilibrium, you have this body which is in equilibrium. Then every part or particle of the body is in equilibrium. You cannot say this fellow can goof around. No particle can accelerate if the entire body is in equilibrium. So you take any part of the body, you take this part of the body. So you see, draw the free body diagram. So external force is on this face. Now if there is no force coming from the other half, this fellow will accelerate in X direction. It will go left. So there are forces across this face to equilibrate it. This fellow is in equilibrium. When the whole body is in equilibrium, he has to be in equilibrium. Similarly, right half. How can it be in equilibrium? Because this left fellow won't let it go away. Otherwise, it will accelerate to the right. So there are internal forces which are equal and opposite. By Newton's third law, they have to be equal and opposite. And they try to keep the parts in equilibrium. They hold the body together. You can take any part. Now, the forces are like this. So this fellow will be held by forces coming onto this half. If there is a force like this, the net effect has to be like this. So the forces may be normal to the surface and tangential to the surface, but the net effect has to equilibrate against the external force. Similarly for the right half. So forces depend on the plane you are considering. You considered a plane inclined. You see your net force is this, but force component tangential and normal becomes different. I took the body like this. Force component on this plane was different. On this plane was different. So you see, through a point, there are infinite number of planes. Passing through a point. What is the importance of this statement? Anybody? You have a body. You see, body, you take a point in the body, you can pass infinite number of planes through it. The planes can have different orientations. On each plane, you are having different normal stress, different shear stress. Normal stress, shear stress depend on the orientation of the plane. Somewhere normal stress will be higher, somewhere shear stress will be higher. How will you find about which plane the body will fail? You see, it's a problem. I told you take a piece of chalk, you bend it, then what happens? It ruptures across a flat cross section, normal to the axis of the chalk. But if you twist it, it will fail like this or this. So you see, failure modes are different and they depend on what stress for which it is weak. Your body is weak along which plane. Your body need not be homogeneous. It may have different strengths at different planes. Okay, body need not be uniform. It may have different strengths at different orientations. So you need to find stresses, normal and shear stresses on different planes. But you see, there are infinite number of planes. You can't be finding on all of them. It becomes a problem. So what is done is you find stresses on 3 orthogonal planes. So that is the way we define stress tensor. Stress tensor is find stresses on 3 orthogonal planes. Orthogonal means perpendicular planes. So we get a matrix. So this is stress tensor. Now there is a stress transformation rule. That you can find stresses on any other plane in terms of these stresses. So what is the stress transformation rule? I'll tell you. This is that stress transformation. And L matrix I had defined earlier. I don't know if you remember. So that is a direction cosine matrix. Do you remember the L matrix? Kevalish?
Not now, sir. I think I
Okay,
forgot.
what I tell you, you'll go to my lecture 1 in the video, in the YouTube channel. So there I have told you the use of vectors in mechanics. In that, I think I had described what is an L matrix. How do you transform a vector when you change a coordinate system? You have a vector like this. This is a coordinate system. Components of the vector depend on the coordinate system. Suppose I take my vector like this. So this vector is suppose at 45 degree. Now what is the component of this vector? Suppose these components are these 110. Now I take another coordinate system. Like I take my coordinate system like this. I need only 3 perpendicular directions to describe a vector. I have taken this as my new coordinate system. So basically I have rotated my xy axis about this z axis and I am getting new coordinate system. Okay. Now what is this vector in this new coordinate system? Kevalish, can you tell me?
Just a second, sir. It will be 100. No, sorry, not 1. √200.
Very good. So in x prime, y prime, z prime system, this is my vector. You see, it has got only one component along x prime direction. I had told you that vector magnitude is an invariant. Whatever be the coordinate system, vector magnitude will not change. So you see, Cavalish has maintained the same magnitude. 1 square plus 1 square square root is the vector magnitude in XYZ system. So vector is same, only its representation has changed. Same thing here with stress transformation rule. You can find stresses about a different coordinate system or for a different plane using this. So I'll explain you this. Okay, let me do it. So, okay, I had done this problem. So suppose this is my y-axis and z-axis. So I had taken a plane like this. So I am finding sigma xx here using this plane. Suppose I want on this plane. I define a new coordinate system. I say my coordinate system is like this. Then what will I do? If I have to find sigma x prime, what will I do? I will take a normal a plane like this. Now the plane is normal to x prime direction. So my plane becomes, my body free body diagram becomes my force, external force was like this. So force is the same. Let's call it F naught only like we did earlier. Now this is my x prime direction. This is my y prime direction. Now what is F naught? It has to be same on this plane. To equilibrate the body, the two forces have to be equal and opposite and collinear. So there is a uniform force here on this face. So you expect a uniform force distribution here. Net resultant force is F naught, acting at the centroid of this face. So they are both collinear, equal and opposite. If this angle is theta, if this is A naught area, so what is this area? A naught by sine theta. If this angle is theta, so this angle is theta. If this is theta, so this becomes this is theta. So this is 90 minus theta. So what is this component of F naught along x prime direction, Kavalish?
F naught sine theta.
Very good. What is the component along y prime direction?
F naught cos theta.
So you can call it minus sign because it is pointing in negative y prime direction. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is my sigma x prime x prime? Force component along x prime direction is F naught sine theta. Area of the face is A naught by sine theta. So I get F naught by A naught sine square theta. What is my sigma y prime x prime? Force component is minus F naught cos theta. Area normal is A naught by sine theta. Any problem?
No, sir.
So this is the way I get these stresses. Now suppose I do a different thing. Look, I'll be putting this video on the YouTube channel. So you guys can listen to it if something you are missing. But you have to work hard. If you don't listen back, you will not be able to follow what happens in the next class. Now what I want to find sigma y prime y prime. So Kevarish, how do I take my cutting plane?
1 second, sir. So basically, along the x dash direction.
Okay, very good. So if this is my cutting plane, then I can talk of forces. I will take free body diagram like this. So now this is my y prime direction. This is my x prime direction. So I have found a plane which is having direction normal to the norm, whose normal direction is pointing in y prime direction. And this was my force F naught on the external force. Now here internal force has to be F naught in order to equilibrate. This plane was making an angle theta. So this is 90 degrees. So this is so this is 90 minus theta. So this is 90 plus theta. Okay. So this angle you call 90 minus theta. Anything wrong?
No, sir.
So if this area is A naught, what is this area?
A naught by cos theta.
Okay. This is 90 minus theta, so this becomes 90 minus theta. This becomes theta. All right. So what is my normal component of the force? F naught cos theta. And what is my tangential component? F naught sin theta. So this is F naught sin. Okay, we have to see the sign issue. Let's see for the time being, I am not actually calling it minus F naught sin theta because this F naught is acting in this direction. If there is a minus sign in it, it will be anyway becoming negative value. So let us see what are the stresses. So what is my sigma y prime y prime? Normal stress, no, this force upon area, F naught by A naught cos square theta. What is my sigma x prime y prime? F naught sin theta This is my shear stress. Now we have not resolved the sign issue here. Let's go back to the previous case. I had applied F naught. I know it is positive. So x prime is this F naught sine theta. This is F naught cos theta. So there is a negative sign because it is pointing in negative y prime direction. So I don't see any issue why I should make it positive. So if I just try to represent it, my x prime becomes, this is like sine scale theta. This is my minus sine theta cos theta. Let it be 0. Now this here is cos square theta. This is sine theta cos theta. Now let's look at the sign issue here. This is F naught. Okay. This is force component is negative. You see. But area normal is positive. Force component is negative. So you have to call it a negative stress. Kevalish, can you see this? This was my F naught,
Yes.
which is pointing in whatever direction. Now, if I take my y component of F naught, it is positive, but my x prime component is negative. So you have to use a negative sign. Area normal is positive. For stress, sign convention depends on both area sign and force component sign. So that is why you have a negative sign. If I come to the previous case, my area normal was in positive x prime direction, force component was in negative y prime direction. So I have to get a negative stress. The sign convention for stresses depend on both sign of force component of force, as well as sign of the area of the phase. So you see, and you will be taught in this course that this stress tensor is symmetric. Once it becomes symmetric, your independent terms become 6. Because sigma xy will be equal to sigma yx, sigma xz will be equal to sigma zx, sigma yz will be equal to sigma z. So this lower half will be reflection of the upper half. So this upper triangle will be same as this lower triangle. So there is a symmetry. So you have got only 6 independent terms in this stress tensor. Okay. So I don't know whether I should do it today. There is enough time or not. I use this formula. Sigma PQ is equal to LPI, LQJ, sigma IJ. So I had told you using Einstein's convention, Einstein's notation. This is the sum of how many terms? 9 terms. What happens is I and J, they take all the values. If you just expand it, suppose this is x prime, so this will become L. P is for x prime, you see. I and J are repeating here, you see. Whatever repeats takes all the values. Did you see what I did, Kevalish?
Yes, sir,
This
but
first
I'm
term is same. First component is same everywhere. But I have changed. This I belongs to this stress. J belongs to this stress. So I take XX, sigma XX. Next time I just change this second one, XY, XY. So this way I have considered all the terms having first index as X. Next time I do, sorry, this is L. So this index will be same, PQ. So PQ, X prime, first index is same. Second, what we took, did first with X. We took X everywhere. Now we take Y. Next I take, I could have taken, okay. So LPI, LQJ, sigma IJ. So I goes with the first fellow, J goes with the second fellow. Same thing here. Y goes with this, X goes with this. I put sigma Y Z. So I get sigma X prime Y. Can you see this? Now what I do plus, let's take it sigma ZX. So here it will be Z, here it will be X. Next term is sigma ZY. Third term is sigma ZZ. Can you see how I made the permutations? You have to just try it out. It's not difficult to do. Now, what is happening in this case? Your original matrix was only this. All other terms were zero in the uniaxial case. You had only this sigma XX as non-zero. So what will be happening here when you try to find sigma X prime, all other fellows are not contributing. So you will have only sigma X prime as Lx prime X, Lx prime X, sigma XY. Sorry. No other fellow is contributing. So it is looking little weird, but it's not that weird. Okay. Now let us see the coordinate system. Now what I had done, this was the case. Then I had taken a coordinate system like this. This was my x prime, y prime, my x, original x, my y. So I can say my coordinate system initially was this. Later on it became this. What is my L matrix? I had told you earlier. You may not remember. So I take the terms like, here I write x prime, y prime, z prime. Here I write x, y, z. So I try to find the angle between x prime and x. What is this angle between x prime and x? I have taken as theta. What is cosine of this? Cos theta. What is the angle between x prime and y? Kevalish.
90 minus theta.
So its cos becomes sine theta. This is 0. This is xy plane. Is you have rotated the coordinate system about z axis. So both these axes are perpendicular to these planes. This xy or x prime y prime plane. Now what is the angle between y prime and x? Yes, Kevalish.
90 degrees, sir.
90 plus theta.
Sorry, 90 plus theta, yes, sir.
The cos of that becomes minus sine theta. What is the angle between y prime and y? Theta, cos theta. So this is my L matrix. I had done it earlier. You listen to the video again. Now what is my sigma x prime x prime? L x prime x into L x prime x. So that is cos square theta sigma xx. What is my sigma y prime y prime? L y prime x, L y prime x. L y prime x. You see minus sine theta into minus sine theta. So you get sine square theta sigma xx. What is my sigma x prime y prime? L x prime x. L x prime x is cos theta. L y prime x. L y prime x is minus sine theta. You see that? L x prime x cos theta. L y prime x minus sine theta. So you are getting this answer. So sigma x prime becomes cos square theta sigma xx. You go back. Okay, you see here I had taken theta as this angle. So I have changed the angle somehow. Theta was this angle. This was 90 minus theta basically. I had taken this x prime at 90 minus theta with x axis. Okay. So that is why the results have gone other way around. You can see this, I hope. So if this theta is 90 minus theta, you get a sine square theta. Here you will have a cos square theta, and this will be same. So you see, I use this formula to get my results. This formula works for three-dimensional situation. It is not restricted to a 2D plane state of stress. So this is a very general formula. You will not find in lot of books. So this will help you throughout 4 years. And had you used the formula which is there in most of the books, so that works mainly for plane state of stress. So we'll work on it. I had told you probably, I don't know, Python is a book we will follow. I'd like you to buy this book, or you can find a PDF on the net. Mechanics of Solids. It's an easy book, but there are also very much better books. But this has a lot of examples. There is a book Timoshenko and Gare. It's a good book. There is another book Crandall and Dahl. Nowadays you can get books on through the net. If you can get it, this is the best. But this is more difficult to understand compared to this book. This is much easier, has lot of examples. This has much more higher theory content. Both have their advantages and disadvantages. So Python is the one I recommend to the public. Any questions?